I'm Mark Sudol. Welcome back to Power and Politics. There's a new documentary coming out about the late Joe Lieberman. It's called Centered Joe Lieberman. It traces the Stanford native's transition from Connecticut state politics to his mission to find an alternative candidate president. There are private screenings now, but the documentary officially comes out in November. Rabbi Daniel Cohen from Congregation Agudath Shalom in Stanford joins us now. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be back.
You're here to talk about this, and you also have a book with you. Tell us about this.
Sure. So first of all, Senator Lieberman grew up in Stanford,
right,
and his hometown synagogue was Agudath Shalom. Mm-hmm. He left to go to New Haven during a lot of his career. When I became the rabbi in Stanford, he came back to Agudath Shalom. And we developed a very strong friendship, and it really related in many ways to a book that I wrote called What Will They Say About You When You're Gone? Creating a Life of Legacy. And I wanted to interview people who I would call soulful celebrities, individuals that led life at the highest frequency, people of principle, people who focused on eternal impact. And right in my congregation, I asked Senator Lieberman, I said, would you be willing to be interviewed? And he was so gracious. And I was able really to get into his heart and soul and understand what the influences were in his life. And in fact, he wrote the foreword to the book, and he's featured on one of the chapters called Courageous Choices. You know, when you look on a life, King Solomon says, better to have a good name than all the wealth in the world. And when you think about Senator Joe Lieberman, and he said this, and it's in the book, I don't want to be remembered for playing life safe. I want to be remembered for doing what's right. And he was a politician of integrity, and really that opened up a whole new conversation with him that really deepened our journey and our personal relationship.
And I mean, you knew Joe personally. What kind of a guy was he?
He was a person who could walk with the kings, but also walk with every man. He would come to synagogue as a regular Joe, and he would eat afterwards with people. He would, as they say in Yiddish, kibitz with people. But a person also at the same time, was associating with, great leaders. But he walked with humility. And I think that's something that's really lacking in leadership today. He didn't wake up in the morning asking, what do I want? He asked in the morning, what does God want of me? And what can I do to help make this world a better place? He was a person also who didn't hold a grudge, a person who wasn't vengeful. And as we all know, he was centered. He didn't look to find the extremes. He understood that we got to find common ground. And that was also one of his really tremendous character traits.
Yeah, what else do you think that our local leaders and national leaders could learn from someone like Joe Lieberman?
Well, there's a lot they can learn from him. I mean, he didn't take himself too seriously in a sense. I mean, he understood that, and I said this at the eulogy, he understood that his soul was not his role. A lot of people become very self-inflated, and they just focus on what can be done for me. And I'll give you a great example. At the end of the funeral, there was a big traffic jam. The place was packed at the synagogue. And who was waiting to get out the door, who was waiting in traffic? Vice President Al Gore. And I said, when he was vice president, the whole place would have cleared out for him. But he's just Al Gore. He happened to be vice president. We're senators, we're congressmen, whatever we are, that's not really who we are. You're just here to serve others and to serve God. And to me, the message of humility, to recognize, again, that we're here for a higher purpose, to walk with humility, to be forgiving, to try to come to common ground, are one of the most important character traits. And here's another. He was a man of faith, mm-hmm. and he wasn't afraid to proclaim it.
Right.
And that really inspired others. We were at a private screening in Colorado last week, and a Catholic woman said, he gave me the faith to be public with my faith. Because when I saw him walking to synagogue on Shabbat, and I saw him so focused on what God wanted him to do, it opened up my own sense of pride, not to hide my faith, but really to be guided by my faith in a public way.
So what should they get out of this documentary?
I think they have a sense of really Joe Lieberman, the human, the mm-hmm. man, deeply devoted to his wife and to his family. Somebody who also really understood that he was here to serve others. I mean, you really see in this documentary pivotal moments in American Jewish history and how he was involved in it, but also in a very heartwarming way, people across the political divide who understood how special this person was and how he should serve as a beacon for us, We're living at a time of great political divide. Joe Lieberman's spirit and legacy is needed in our country now more than ever.
That was going to be my next question. You answered that one perfectly. He was such a magnetic person, though, at the same time. I mean, as you mentioned, religious and in some ways was kind of kept to himself, but he really did reach across the aisle, and I think really brought people together.
He did. I mean, right after certainly in 9/11, he was a person who understood with whether Democrat or Republican the common interest of our country in terms of security. And I would say also he was a person who understood friendship is what's most important. He didn't demonize people. He understood that he wanted to try to find the face of God in every human being. He didn't dig for the dirt. That's politics today.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
he
yeah.
mined for the gold. And I think that those friendships, I mean, I have so many stories of people that came to me and said, Joe Lieberman remembered my name. I was mostly moved by his chief of staff. People who were the employees felt that he was concerned for them as a human being. And that's really where it all starts.
In the 30 seconds we have left, where can people watch this and when?
So it's going to actually come out as a premiere in DC in November. There is a website which I can let you know about. I think it's called Center Joe Lieberman, but I'll give you the exact details. And there should be a trailer that's coming out very soon.
Rabbi Daniel Cohen, thank you so much for being with us.
It's an honor to be here to help pay tribute to the great Senator Joseph Lieberman.